Hey guys, welcome to the very first episode of EVG Books. I'm Evelyn Green, and this podcast is basically my love letter to anyone who's ever wanted to get a little closer to great books without feeling lost in the outdated language. If you ever wondered whether classic literature could actually say anything about your life today, or if maybe you just want some honest talk about the big stuff like identity, meaning, and how to survive all the noise out there, then you're in the right place. So, what's this show about? Simple, modern reflections on timeless classics. I don't buy the idea that old books belong on dusty shelves. They're more like life hacks hidden in plain sight. Each episode, I'll crack open a classic and show you not just what it says, but how it actually matters right now in the chaos, questions, and curveballs of modern life. And without stalling any longer, let's jump in. The first book we're looking at is Ralph Waldo Emerson's Self-Reliance. Let's get into it. Okay, so Emerson opened Self-Reliance with a pretty wild claim, especially for his time. You already know who you are, and what's true for you doesn't actually need permission from anyone else. Big, right? He says, don't look outside yourself for direction. Everything you truly need to know is already inside you. It's this quiet flicker, that gut feeling, for lack of better words, that tells you what's real before you pile on the doubts about, whether it'll make sense, whether it's good enough, or whether anyone will think you're weird if you say it out loud. If you're listening right now, you probably know that feeling. But fast forward to today, and wow, do we ever second guess it? Social media, the endless scroll, FOMO. It's like a factory for self-doubt. Imposter syndrome, for me, feels baked right into the algorithm. All these comparisons, all these shoulds, Emerson would probably laugh or maybe cry, honestly. And what's so powerful about his message is that he's not just being poetic, he's being intensely practical. He says your honest thought, your impulsive one, is what the world is actually starving for, not your ability to mimic what already exists. Here's a personal miss. I had this idea for a book club, a really niche one. I told no one, total secret, because of course I thought, what do I have to offer? Fast forward a year, and a friend who, mind you, I never mentioned this to, launched almost the exact thing. She absolutely nailed it. She gets this beautiful following going, and it's everything I hoped for. I am watching her shine, and honestly, I am so happy that this idea has been birthed, even though not by me. Watching her build something beautiful out of her own voice made me realize the cost of not trusting your intuition, of waiting for the right time or the right credentials, is that you sit on the sidelines of your own life. The point's not to never be inspired by others, of course not, but Emerson's bright line is this: originality starts when you stop asking for permission. And that, right now, is probably the most rebellious act on earth. So, let's take that intuition one step further. What if you're right? Like, not just possibly onto something, but actually right in your core about what matters, or about some idea or direction before anyone else gets it. Emerson gives us this comparison: kids versus adults. And it's not about immaturity, but rather this unself-consciousness kids have. You know how a small child just is themselves, doesn't do image management, isn't worried about being misunderstood. They're magnetic, not because they're perfect, but because they're real. But for adults, the older we get, the more we tangle ourselves in layers of self-consciousness, worry, and the need for approval. We want to fit in. Emerson's not afraid to say this openly. The price of real originality is, you'll feel misunderstood, maybe even lonely. But the cost of not taking that risk is bigger. You slowly vanish into everyone else's expectations. There's a price for originality, of course. Society rewards conformity. Going your own way feels risky, and you might be misunderstood, even judged. Emerson's example here really sticks with me. Think of Galileo, or any original creator. Imagine the loneliness of being the first one out there. Truth-tellers, innovators, the ones living from that wild core always get tested. I actually faced a much smaller version of this back when I was working in hospitality and studying sustainability on the side. I remember spotting a really simple change we could make in the restaurant, something that would reduce waste and save resources across the board. Now, usually when you're new, or when you challenge the way things have always been done, the safe bet is to stay quiet. But I spoke up, and what surprised me was, they didn't shut it down, they actually encouraged it. So I rolled it out at our branch, and the impact was immediate. It saved time, money, and resources. And the results were so clear that it ended up being adopted across all the other locations. That experience taught me something huge. Sometimes originality isn't met with resistance. it's met with relief. People want someone to notice, to care, to go first. You just have to trust that inner nudge and be brave enough to act on it. So the question is, what could you do, what could you risk, if you accepted the idea that being misunderstood isn't a warning sign, it's the first signal that you're actually living from real conviction. Sometimes the world's not ready, and well, that's how the world gets ready. Let's talk conformity. Emerson does not mince words here. Performing for applause, whether it's on Instagram or in a boardroom, saps the very creativity and soul you need to do anything meaningful. He calls out this modern obsession with personal branding, which I've fallen into plenty, trust me, as more prison than power. It's like we're so determined to appear seamless and consistent. We end up saying no to the best and weirdest parts of ourselves, just because we're scared they won't fit the brand. Emerson's plea, let go of policing your growth. Inconsistency means you're alive, you're learning. Your truth today might not look like your truth yesterday, and that is not a weakness. It's the exact evidence of daring to grow. He's almost mischievous with it. To be great is to be misunderstood. Why are we so fixated on past versions of ourselves, protecting them at the expense of what's genuine right now? Here's a question for you. Where are you performing instead of being? I had a moment years ago in acting class, back when I thought I'd be the next Meryl Streep. Spoiler, no. We were rehearsing a scene, and the teacher stopped me dead in my tracks and said, "Stop trying. Just be." I honestly didn't get it at first, and not gonna lie, I felt attacked. Then he said, "You are enough." It stopped me in my tracks, and I let myself just exist. No performance, nothing extra. Suddenly I felt free. What happened next? To my utter shock, I burst out sobbing. Apparently, it was palpable. Everyone else saw it too. I'd never felt that much permission to be my own self, on stage or off. What I took away is this. You don't have to broadcast some perfectly crafted identity. You're allowed to be awkward, contradictory, in progress. Your freedom, the real kind, starts the moment you quit performing. So take a minute. Where in your life are you pretending to be someone you no longer are? What belief, what persona are you holding just because it feels safer than letting go? So friends, let's land this plane. If we sum up self-reliance in one invitation, it's this. Everything you need to know about your path, your gifts, your weirdness, your next chapter is already whispering inside you. The hard part isn't finding the voice. It's trusting it enough to act, to weather the storm of being misunderstood, and to choose growth over borrowed certainty. I genuinely hope that this episode plants some seeds, or maybe shakes loose some old masks. If you want to dig deeper, or let me know how these ideas land for you, share your thoughts, your questions, or even your personal stumbles and wins. Connect with me on socials. My tag is EVG Books, and I always love hearing your personal reflections and reviews. And if Self-Reliance spoke to you, I've reimagined a whole bunch of classics with this same mix of courage, clarity, and let's face it, a little modern mess. The full catalogue is on my Linktree page. Until next time, keep seeking the wisdom that's already closer than you think.